you kind of like as a child? Like, what were your interests, and were you always kind of a sporty kind of girl?
Yeah, I love sport. I actually did gymnastics when I was young, hockey. I kind of tried everything I could. Golf was something I did with my dad and my brother, and I'm so competitive with my brother, so it was the one thing I compete against him with. So I started golf when I was 6, 7 years old, and that was always my front runner.
And I suppose outside of sport, is there anything else that you enjoy doing, like being musical or anything like that?
I love being outside, so like going on nice walks, and we're very lucky here that we have so many nice ones. So just anything really with my friends and family is what I like doing the most.
And with golf, how old were you when you would have started?
Yeah, I started when I was 6 or 7. Was always just wanting to with my dad and brother, and following them around. So I was kind of begging them, can I go to golf with them?
And I suppose talk to us about like your journey with golf, and like from when it started to where you've gotten yourself to now.
Yeah, so started really young. Grew up at Tanchiki Golf Club in Royal County Down, and I think I joined the Ireland national team when I was 12, 13, and got my first cap for Ireland at quite a young age, and I was quite successful, which was good. And then kind of just went through the ranks in Ireland. Competed for them in Europe, all over the world. Then after that, and eventually went on a golf scholarship to Arizona State University. So spent the last 5 years there, and then got to where I am now, professional.
And I suppose golf is like not something you necessarily associate with kids growing up, and especially girls, like young girls. So like, were you like one of the only girls maybe that were playing at that young age, or was there like a good few of you?
Yeah, I was the only girl. It was actually kind of tough. I was really lucky my brother played, and the boys kind of welcomed me in. I know it wasn't the case for a lot of girls, and I think one of the reasons I really stuck at it was because I had the boys to play with, and it's so nice for me now. I come home and I see so many girls out there playing, and they've got friends, and it just makes me so happy because, you know, I never had that, and to see them now get to play with their friends, I think it's very exciting and special.
And what do you love about golf?
I think my life wouldn't be how it was without golf. I've got to travel the world. I've got to meet so many new people. I've got to turn my passion and what was my hobby into my career, and it just gives you so many opportunities, opens so many doors. But I love the game. I love competing. I love playing. Just everything about it excites me.
And then I suppose thinking about like training for golf, it might be like a sport that you typically would associate with like doing gym work, let's say. Like, what is the training like in golf?
Yeah, it's the same as any other sport, and I think it's changing a lot now. Golf's really evolving, where hitting the ball far is very important, and we play and we travel so much that really to keep the injuries away, it's very important. So it is intense. You know, when I'm in an off week, I try to get in the gym at least 5 times a week, and on the road a lot of maintenance, and then obviously we're out on the golf course for long hours. So it's not really kind of the stereotype how it used to look. It's definitely very important now.
And what would, like, let's say if you were doing a week of training, what would it kind of look like?
Yeah, I like to go to the gym in the morning. I always think kind of get it out of the way a little bit.
Yeah.
So I normally start quite early, you know, it could be 6, 7 o'clock, get in the gym, kind of get home, get ready, and could look anything sort of like, I like to practice before I play, so might include like a range session, some short games of putting and some lunch, and then I like to be competitive even when I'm training, so I'll try and get a few people to go out and play matches with and compete against them, and then finish off the day kind of that way.
Like, even like your home friends and stuff, would they play with you just even for a bit of crack?
Yeah, absolutely, I love it. You know, I'm kind of a person that loves to play socially as well, so I don't really care who I play with. You know, I'll go out and play with, you know, one of the older men at the golf club who plays off a 36 handicap. I'll go out and play with my friends who are off +5, and it can be competitive. I really don't mind. You know, I try to take my best friends, some of them just started golf to the driving range, and I enjoy that as well. So I kind of like playing with anybody. It doesn't really make a difference. I think it doesn't matter what level you're at, you can still have fun, and that's the nice thing about it.
And can you talk to us a bit about the step up from amateur golf to professional golf? Was that a big adjustment?
Yeah, it's been a bigger jump than I thought, transitioning from amateur golf to professional golf. There's a lot of things that you don't think about, and a lot of things that come with it. You know, you're kind of your own business now, and you think you just went from playing golf and being told when to be at the airport and when to show up and have everything organised to kind of having to do it all yourself. And it's definitely a more hectic playing schedule. You're on the road for, you know, 6, 7, 8 weeks at a time, and you know, you're traveling across so many different countries. So I think it's definitely been a lot more than I thought, and then handling things off the golf course as well, you know, the sponsorship, media appearances, all of that side of things. It's definitely been a big learning curve.
And I suppose with that as well, it's probably trying to get that like work-life balance as well can be hard to kind of switch off, I imagine.
Yeah, I really struggle to switch off, and it's hard when golf is your life. You know, you just want to go out and have dinner with your friends sometimes, and you bump into people, and the question they ask you is, how's the golf going? How's it all going? You sort of think if you're in a normal job, would they say like, oh, how was your work today? You know, they wouldn't. So I struggle to switch off. I love it so much, and it, you know, it's a huge part of my life. So it's something that's very much so a work in progress for me. You know, kind of taking the time just to be a normal human away from being an athlete, and I think it's something that's important to be successful in the long term.
Definitely. And I suppose you've played on so many different courses around the world. Could you say what one would be your favourite to play on?
Yeah, I think my favourite course in Ireland, Northern Ireland, is Royal County Down, my home course, so I'm a little bit biased. And then in the world, Augusta National. I got to compete there in the Augusta National Women's Amateur, and that was just so special.
What was like your first kind of major tournament that you would have played at that was kind of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here?
Yeah, it's surreal. I mean, I got to play there in 2019. It was the inaugural Augusta National Women's Golf Amateur, and it's just amazing to get to play where all the men, so much history at such a prestigious golf course. It's so special.
And you mentioned as well that you were over in Arizona for 5 years, was it? How was that?
Yeah, it was amazing. I could not recommend it anymore to people. I think, you know, no matter what sport you play, it's such an amazing opportunity. You know, get your degree, which was something that was actually very important for me. And then just to really grow up, you know, learn to do your own washing, learn to be away from home, learn to be on your own schedule, time management, all of that. It's so important. So, you know, I think no matter what sport you do, and I actually thought it was amazing. I learned so many new sports that I got to go watch. Never watched ice hockey, never watched baseball, never watched American football. So it's actually really fun to kind of see new sports as well.
Can you talk to us a bit about like the mental side of golf? So like obviously you're going out and you're trying to get your best result out for yourself, and like sometimes, you know, shots aren't going to go your way. How do you kind of pick yourself up after you come off the course? Yeah,
I think golf is so mental. You know, you think you've got it one week and then the next week it's like, what just happened? I think it's the same as any sport, but you know, we compete for so many weeks, and I think when you do have a tough round, a tough hole, like, you know, a couple of bad shots, you really just have to keep going and being positive. And it's something that I try to do quite a lot, which is, you know, I try to not get too down on myself and not get too high or not to get too low, because, you know, you could be winning a trophy next week and you could miss a few cuts for the next few weeks after. You don't really know what's around the corner, and you know, it's one of those things you train and you hope to have good results, but I train because I love it, and I don't, you know, training and working hard doesn't guarantee that you're going to be successful. So I think, you know, being really positive and just like being very consistent with your preparation is important.
And I suppose there's absolutely amazing female role models now in golf, such as yourself, Leona Maguire, Stephanie Meadow, but I suppose it is still a sport that's quite male dominated. How would you suggest maybe to encourage more girls and women to get involved in golf?
Yeah, I think, you know, coming from where we were to where we are now, it's just unbelievable. You know, to have 3 professional golfers. I remember, you know, being young and only looking up to the males because we didn't have anyone to be a role model to look up to. So I think it's very, very special now. I think they've done a great job. I think a lot more girls are getting involved. You know, I come to my golf club and I see so many girls, and you know, it's so special because I never had that. I think they just have to continue. You know, 9 holes is brilliant. You know, people don't have that much time, and golf obviously is very time consuming. So, you know, getting out and playing 9 holes with your friends is very good. And I think there's a lot of initiatives in now, you know, kind of get into golf. And I think when you do have your friends, you feel a wee more comfortable when you're first starting out, because it is, you know, quite daunting going on that first tee and having, you know, people around, and obviously a lot of males as well. So I think kind of continuing with those initiatives is very important.
No, definitely, like, and it's great to see so many female role models in golf now. But I suppose when you were growing up then, who would have been your role model looking?
Yeah, I mean, I looked up to the guys. I looked up to Rory, I looked up to Shane, I looked up to Darren Clark, Podrick. It was always the males, and it's so nice now to be able to look up to Leona, to look up to Steph. You know, I want to get on the LPGA eventually, and having them there, and, you know, I'm very close with Leona and getting her to kind of help me and give me tips and advice, and she's someone I really lean on. It's very nice now to kind of have a girl to look up to.
What's kind of the best piece of advice she's given you so far?
Oh, she's helped me with so much stuff, you know, from the sponsorship and the management and visas and, you know, all of the boring logistical stuff that you
Things
kind
that you
of...
don't necessarily think that you're going to have to
Yeah,
deal with.
it doesn't necessarily have to be golf. It's, you know, it's a lot of the things that she's been through and setting up those visas and, you know, sponsorship and appearances and that side off the golf course. She's been extremely helpful, but she's very supportive and it's very nice to have a close friend that's, you know, a few steps ahead of me.
And I suppose aside from like people in golf, did you have any other kind of sporting heroes growing up?
Well, always been golf is what I've looked at. I quite like boxing. Again, Crosshampton. So it's actually, you know, quite sad that I sit here and I tell you that everybody that I've looked up to has kind of been guys. So I think it's exciting now that we're kind of transitioning out of that where there is more females to look up to.
And would you say, like, I suppose with golf, you know, you're kind of have your own thing to focus on, your own performance, whereas compared to like maybe team sports like rugby or golf, you know, do you think with that, is it kind of easier to build friendships when you're kind of have that kind of team side of things, whereas in golf, is it kind of maybe a bit harder? Is that a bit of a challenge?
Yeah, you know, that was a nice thing about playing for Ireland. It was a team, and those were the best weeks. It was so fun being with your teammates and the silly things off the golf course, like braiding each other's hair and, you know, getting ready together. And that's so nice to have that support. And the same in college, you know, a lot of it was the team aspect, and you kind of get into the professional world and you feel a little bit more alone. It is nice, you still have your close friends and obviously you support each other, but it is quite different. And I think that's why so many people really want to play Solheim Cup, and it's one of the few opportunities where you get to play on a team, and obviously it's something that is very special.
And we recently launched our Dude for Her campaign. I don't know, have you seen the video?
Yes.
Yeah, so like obviously it was actually quite shocking, I think, to a lot of people. You know, they didn't really expect that. I feel like we have come so far when it comes to you know, exposure to women in sport, but I think it showed like, you know, we have a long way to go. What was kind of your reaction when you watched it?
Yeah, I mean, it is shocking. I think I understand it a little bit more. I spent a lot of time in college writing papers for some of my classes on kind of the difference, the inequality, the issues that we do have. So to some extent it doesn't surprise me, but it's hard. It's like, you know, you want to take the moment to appreciate how far we've come, because listen, like when I started to now, it's been crazy, but we have a long ways to go, but I think it's exciting, and I do think we'll get there. It might take a little bit of time, but I think the work that's going into it now, I think the recognition that we're finally getting, I think, you know, when you don't get to see people play golf that are female, when you don't get to see females play any sport, it's so hard. And then when you get to see these amazing moments, and you finally give females the chance that they deserve to, you know, be on a platform, be able to have people watching, and they realize how special it is. And the amount of times I play with guys and they say to me, oh my gosh, I can't believe how good you are, and I'm like, turn on the TV and watch the LPGA Tour and you'll see how amazing they are. But if it's not on the TV, they can't watch it. So I do think we have a long ways to go, but at the same time, I do think that we're making a little bit of progress.
Absolutely. And I suppose, like, I think one of the stats that's quite shocking is like twice as many girls drop out of sport than boys by the age of 20, I think. What would kind of be your advice to young girls who maybe are kind of getting to that age where they're like, you know what, I'm just not going to bother?
Yeah, I think it's tough. It's, you know, as I said, when I grew up, if I didn't have the boys, I don't know if I would have stuck at it. And I just think now, if you go out and you have one friend that you can train with, you can practice with, I think you're more inclined to kind of push each other and stick at it. So I kind of seen it a lot with my friends. You know, they played sport up to a certain age and then they stopped, but they didn't really have other people playing the sport. You know, I played golf, my other friends played hockey, so it wasn't like, you know, we could do it together. So I think it's very important, maybe if you have that group of friends, to really stick at it and kind of encourage each other to keep going.
And as a female athlete that has played at such an elite level, what are the kind of challenges that you've seen or that you've experienced?
Yeah, I feel like I've been through a lot. I think the hardest thing for me is when you've got personal things going on away from the course, and it's quite hard. You're in the spotlight, and people, you know, you're not playing well, and people don't understand the full picture. And I think if you don't really know what's going on in someone's personal life, it's quite tough. And I think that's really hard on you mentally. And I've been through it. You know, I lost my dad at the end of last year, and a lot of people didn't know. And I went to Q school 3 days after I lost my dad, and you know, I saw things on social media saying, you know, I'll talk about my performance and things like that, and you know, they don't see the complete person or the human being. They just see you as an athlete. So I think that's one of the hard parts about it.
And like, just on that, so you've recently decided, you know, to take that step back. Can you talk to us a bit about that decision and what it was like to make that decision for yourself?
Yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough since the end of last year, and I've sort of tried to keep pushing through it. And you're sort of telling yourself you're a professional, like just go up, show up to work, and if you're sad or anything else that's going on, you can deal with that away from it. And I think I got to a point where it just caught up with me, where I just thought, I can't do this anymore. I've taken no time for myself. I've put myself as an athlete before myself as a human being, and to be a good athlete, I think you have to be in a good place off the golf course, and I just haven't been. And it was an extremely hard decision for me. I had my friends and family sort of notice I haven't been myself, and they asked me, can you please take some time off? And I was like, yeah, but I didn't really have the intention of doing it. And I'm so glad I have. I needed this time. I needed to get some help, and I needed to put myself first. You can't really take that athlete out of you. I'm ready to get back in when I am ready. But I think it's been so important for me. And it's obviously a very hard decision. I mean, it's hard. People message you saying, when are you going to be back out on tour? We miss you. We miss seeing you play. And then you're just thinking, I have to put myself first for a little while.
And I think, like in recent years, especially, young athletes like Naomi Osaka, Simone Biles, they've been very vocal about, I'm taking time off for my mental health. Do you think having like female athletes like that making those decisions so publicly and being so vocal kind of helped you making that decision?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the nice thing is when people do share their struggles, because the hard thing in sport is we see everybody's highlight reels. When they do well, they're in the media. When they do well, they're on TV, but we don't get to see, the other side of things, the brutal side that sport can be sometimes. I think it's really important, we're role models for these girls, and that was something that was important for me. When I took the time off, I didn't want to just kind of vanish. I didn't want to just not show up to tournaments and people think, where is she? And I sort of thought, we have a platform and have an ability to help people, and life's tough sometimes. And I think when I shared that, it was so hard for me to do. I remember writing it, and I sat there and I cried for hours and hours and hours, and I thought about it for 3 days. And I just said, okay, Olivia, you could help 3 people by doing this. You can do this. And I posted it, and I was in an airport, and I sat there and I cried for so long, and I was just thinking, I hope nobody's looking at me. And I received, I'm not kidding you, maybe 30, 40 messages of people thanking me for speaking out, and somebody kind of who's done what I've done and has got the ability to speak out, and it really meant a lot because they're struggling too. And I think sometimes we see athletes and we just think they've got an amazing car, they've got an amazing life, they've got a bank full of so much money, and they're not happy, but we don't know that. So I thought it was very important to speak out and help, and it's actually, I think I'm going to start doing a little bit of blogging. I think I want to help people who's kind of going through what I've been through.
With golf, there's it seems like there's such a community vibe with it. We were down at the Irish Open. Can you talk to us a bit about how welcoming maybe the golf community has been for you and supportive of you?
Yeah, the golf community is amazing, honestly. I think it's a small world. You always go somewhere and somebody knows someone through kind of the golf world. And it has been amazing. I turned pro. This is my first full year as a pro, and I've been on the Ladies European Tour, and everybody's been so nice and so welcoming. And people that have been on tour who are now 35, a little bit older than what I am, and they want to help you and they want to see you do well. And the amount of supportive messages say I've got when I've taken this time off, but it's really, really nice. I mean, people are just lovely. Honestly, when you go to a golf club, one of my highlights is coming home. I actually love it. I know the first day I come home when I go to training, I'm going to get no work done because I haven't seen people, and they're like, Olivia, you're home. It's so great to see you. But honestly, it is welcome, and it's such a nice space. It feels safe, and you have so much support, which is really nice.
And now, I suppose, in your off time now, are you kind of getting into any other kind of hobbies at the moment, or are you just kind of soaking up, spending more time with your family and friends?
Yeah, I took a month off golf, and it's something I never do. I didn't touch a club, and it was hard. I kind of thought, I'm going to take some time away, and I'm going to really miss it. And I just know that I need to kind of forget myself as an athlete for a little bit. So I kind of took that time off. Just a lot of back in the gym now, I'm back training, which is really nice, kind of getting that fire back from my belly, and I feel much happier, so that's good. I mean, I've still got a bit of a ways to go, but haven't tried anything new yet, so hopefully maybe I can pick something up.